Choose action.
Oh. College and professional sports continue to provide unequal funding for women. Paying men more for the same sport gives women in the sport less incentive to push themselves and discourage future female participants in the sport. According to Women's Sports Foundation, even though female students comprise 57% of college student populations, female athletes received only 43% of participation opportunities, which is 56,110 fewer participation opportunities than their male counterparts. Although the gap has narrowed, male athletes still receive 55% of college athlete scholarship dollars, leaving only 45% to be allowed to women. Women's teams receive only 38% of college sport operating dollars and 33% of college athlete teams' recruitment spending. How drastic the financial differences are for men and women professional sports teams. Equality in sports for both sexes is still not where it needs to be. It is outrageous that in the modern world, women can be paid less than men for doing the same job. Sport or not, the widely accepted principle of equal pay in the workplace ought to be applied. After all, these are professionals with jobs that should be treated like any other. According to an article in the October 2014 BBC, men got more prize money than women in 30% of sports. Equal media coverage and equal sponsorship would be a good solution to this problem. In the 2015 Women's World Cup was the most watched soccer event in the U.S. history, amassing about 25.4 million views. So why do the female players earn a staggering 40 times less than their male counterparts? The men's winning World Cup have received a whopping $575 million, whereas the women earned a lump sum of $15 million. The disparity in World Cup prize money is only one part of a much bigger system of inequalities that is shaped by how women's sports are developed and promoted, said Mary Jo Kane, director of the Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sports at the University of Minnesota. As you look at the prize money for the men's teams, it was $9 million, women $2 million, and they didn't even win the 2014 FIFA World Cup or advance to the finals. Now the team that did win was Germany, who acquired an alarming $35 million. The average salary for the men's league in the U.S. is $305,000, and inversely, the women's is an abysmal $14,000. Those figures are even worse than the typical American worker who earns 77 cents on the dollar attained by a man. With the women's teams recently accredited, many would think that they are deserving of better pay. Their talents are not going unnoticed, but they are not fairly compensated as compared to men. Now, mind you, the women aren't playing a different sport The same rules and regulations that exist within the women's league are also abiding in the men's league. The only difference is the gender-specific rules pertaining to the abstract idea of femininity. Equal pay in some sports is perplexing, and the disparity in pay is ridiculous. Brittany Griner's salary in 2013 for the WNBA, a part of the Phoenix Mercury, was $49,440, whereas the Golden Bulls in China had agreed on a contract roughly near $600,000. That is approximately worth 6 times more than the maximum salary as opposed to the WNBA. The average salary of a WNBA player for the 2012 season was $72,000, while the league minimum rests above $35,000 for rookies. Players with 3 or more years' experience earned at least $51,000. The value to the public and the media's around-the-clock coverage of the men's sports, unlike the women, aids in our perception of the game. It also can either peak or plummet our interest, which is constantly fluctuating. Also, the coverage plays a pivotal role in our attention towards attending one of their games. How often is a WNBA regular season game sold out? One solution to this problem is we need to further examine the pay spectrum across both platforms for men and women. Women need to have more media coverage, and more sponsors need to get more involved in women's sports. Tennis has already set the curve for equal pay and distribution on their television exposure as well. I look forward to other sports eventually following suit.